So we are in the midst of our 12 Power series, and it arose out of a question that came from Ask the Minister, which was, how does unity understand God? How does unity understand God? So that we can know and feel and sense into that divinity, that presence that is us, that is all around us, that is the connection between each other. All of that is what and how unity understands this idea of God. And if the word God is a trigger for you, substitute it with whatever you like. But the way that unity one of the tools that unity has to be able to grasp the ungraspable is what unity calls the 12 powers. I was actually doing some research, and at one point, Charles Fillmore calls them the 12 centers, which I thought was interesting. How do you center yourself? What is it that you're centered in? And the book that I am along with historical quotes, the other source material is Linda Martella-Witzett's Divine Audacity, which is for sale in the bookstore. If you haven't taken a look at it, it really is a wonderful book. So we started with faith, imagination, and release. This idea of, what do I believe? What's my capacity to imagine and to dream? And then what is my capacity of releasing? And we talked about how these three powers work together to help us understand what the vision for our life is, what the divine idea of our life, of the world is, that we can combine these powers so that we are always becoming more and never less, so that we are always on the leading edge of understanding self and the larger understanding of the world. And if you want to know more about that, you can go back and watch that talk. I'm not going to do it again here. And then last week, we talked about the powers of zeal and order, and about how once we begin to understand there's a vision, there's something calling us that is bigger than what our simple mind can make up. There's something that is ours to be and to do. That zeal is a way to engage and start and get motivated to actually live it, because that is another thing that unity believes, is that we're not here to just talk about stuff. We're here to become it. So zeal it gets us going with something. And then order is our ability to sustain it. Order is how we move from the starting of something into the actual sustained forward momentum. And the thing about order that most people forget is that order is about being able to adjust. So order is not rigid. Order is about pivot. It's about, oh, that's happening. Okay, right here. Oh, what's that? Pivot. And be able to continue forward momentum by pivoting. So can you feel how all of these 5 powers really work together? Can you feel that? One is the vision, the other is part of how you manifest the vision, and that's what we're going to keep working with. How do you access and manifest that vision? So of all the 12 powers, what we have left to look at are love, power, I got to do it this way, yeah. Love, power, understanding, will, and life. Oh, and strength. So today, we're looking at love and power. And that is where my flower child outfit comes from for today. We are looking at love and power. So, love. Unity's understanding of love is different than how most people understand love. Most people understand love to be what we feel as an emotion towards each other. And yes, love is that. But we are looking at love as a power that we have, not an emotion that we experience. So love as a power, as a capacity, as an ability, is the ability to harmonize, attract, and unify. Power, and this is where it gets that's why sometimes we call them the 12 abilities, because if we say the 12 powers, and then we get to power. It's a little confusing, but you're all going to roll with me, right? So power is our ability to master, have dominion, and control. Ooh, that feels heavy, doesn't it? Yes. Right? To master, have dominion, and control. Can you see why love and power need to work together? Yeah. Number one. But let's look at more closely what unity's understanding of that kind of language means. So again, these definitions that I'm giving you come from divine audacity. So love, the ability to harmonize, attract, and unify. So there's three aspects to it that Linda articulates. The magnetizing power of love, which is how we follow our heart's desire. The harmonizing power of love, which harmonizes our words, our thoughts, our actions, and the power of unity, where we can behold the divinity here and there, right? The divinity I am and the divinity everyone is. Now, in most spiritual communities, beholding the divinity in myself and in others is a staple. There's something about that lives. That it lives on the spiritual level. The magnetizing power of love is one of those attributes that most of us will bring into the material realm. The Secret is an example of the magnetizing power of love being translated into material gain, not spiritual wholeness. Can you feel the difference? So Charles Fillmore says, I've got two quotes as to how Charles Fillmore described love. Love in divine mind, so this is the absolute idea of love, again, it's not an emotion, is the idea of universal unity. In expression, love is the power that joins and binds in divine harmony the universe and everything in it. So can you feel that? So in the absolute, it is universal unity. In its expression, how does universal unity show up in time and in space? It shows up as the binding, harmonizing of the universe and everything in it. Now, we are the expression of God. That love, that is the power that binds and joins, we are it. It's not outside of us. It's not separate from us. It is us. We are the expression of love as the power that joins and binds and harmonizes everything. Charles Fillmore does say that the power of love is stronger than anything. Anything. So the physical representation of love is the heart. And when we think about what the heart does, is it equalizes the circulation of the blood in our body. So Charles makes the equation that just as the heart equalizes the life flow in the body, love harmonizes the thoughts of the mind. Now, we would expand that now to be that love harmonizes our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Not just what we mentally believe, but love harmonizes all of it. So can you feel the correlation there? So magnetizing power of love often really gets diluted down to, I want, follow my heart's desire. I want that new car. I want that better job. I want that new house. Just breathe with me for a second. Does your heart really want a new car or a new house? That's not actually your heart's desire. Your heart's desire is for what's underneath that. So maybe you want security. Maybe you want connection. Maybe you want community. Maybe you want a sense of groundedness. That is your heart's desire. Can you feel the difference? And when we are centered in our true heart's desire, and we access all the other powers, so we allow ourselves the power of order, which means that we pivot. It means that we're always looking for what is that? Where is it? We don't think we know. We can start with an idea of what we think it is, but we have to be willing to shift and to be drawn by the true heart's desire. Now, the harmonizing power of love is the one that I think gets left out the most. And I think that that's actually the most impactful part of love. That each of us can show up in the world as a place of harmony. Charles Fillmore says at one point when he talks about love, he says, love does not ever discriminate. Ever. Love is absolute. So in those moments where you feel yourself discerning around where you're giving or sharing your love, you are not giving yourself over to the full power of love. Can you feel that? Love does not discriminate. Love has no discernment. And Charles even says, and you may be throwing pearls before swine, but it doesn't matter. Love doesn't care. Because love isn't doing it. Love isn't loving to get something. Love is loving because that's what love is. So, can you feel that? Yeah. And then beholding the divine in myself and others, we practice that. So now let's take a look at power. Because all too often how we understand power is how power actually operates in our world, which is almost always power over. Power on top of. Power that has an opposite, which is that which is powerless. What the capacity for power is that we all have is the power of concentration. Focus my attention on what is most important. It is the power of self-mastery. And this is really, for me, where power really lives. It's the power of self-mastery. Discipline my mind, and I love what she says here, guard my reactions. Know when to speak up and when to remain quiet. Respond rather than react. Guard your reactions. At first, that language, I was like, guard, that's so not unity. And then I thought about where our reactions come from, and our reactions come from our wounded self. Our reactivity comes from the place that we are that doesn't feel whole, that doesn't feel seen, that doesn't feel recognized. So what if we guarded that wounded place, protected it, so that we understood that, yes, how many people in here do not have trauma? I didn't think anybody would raise their hand, right? We all have some sort of trauma in our life. We are all going to have that place, that space of wounding. And in our interactions with each other, because let's be real, people are irritating. In that interaction, people are going to irritate those wounded spaces. But are we going to react from that? Or are we going to guard that place and do our personal work, self-mastery? Listen, go deeper, so that we're able to be responsive rather than reactive. And if you've taken the quantum living class with me, this is what we focus on. How to hold our reactivity. We don't have to make our reactivity go away, but we want to be able to hold that reactivity in a place of healing. And then the last thing is the power of spiritual authority, to tell the truth to myself and others. Now notice how it doesn't say tell my truth to myself and others. It says tell the truth to myself and others. And there's a really big difference here, and I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So Charles Fillmore says, we are the power of God in action. The power to transform energy from one plane of consciousness to another. So power is our ability to create. It is our birthright to be able to create, because we can transform something from an idea. I think I want to live closer to Unity and Marin. To the reality. We're moving Tuesday, right? So But that's a power, that's the power to create something that was an idea and actually move it into time and in space. And here's the part that I really love. He goes on to say, the power of the voice controls all the vibratory energies of the organism. We're the organism. Every word that goes forth receives its specific character from the power faculty. You felt it when the choir was singing, didn't you? The power of the voice inhabiting, aligning, that does something. It impacts vibrationally the body, the understanding. All of us, every aspect of us is informed by that. And that's why in Unity, this idea of the spoken word, this idea of extemporaneous prayer that we speak aloud is so important to our tradition, because every word that goes forth receives its character from power. So the more spiritual authority we bring, the more powerful our word is. So none of this move has literally happened in 2 weeks. And Barbara Cedarblade is my prayer chaplain at the moment, because everyone who's a member gets a prayer chaplain if you would like one. And I reached out to Barbara and I voiced it. I said, I would like us to have a new place by the end of the month. I voiced it. It wasn't just something living in my head. It became something that was activated through the power of speaking. Singing is even more powerful. Singing amplifies it even more, as far as I'm concerned. So, can you see how so I've talked about how when we can use our abilities in a way that serves us in a very positive way, and we can use our abilities in a way that undermines us and limits us. Everybody in here is using your power of power. I was weird. Using your ability of power. Everyone in here is already doing that. You are voicing things into the world. You are doing it right now. So, where is your attention focused? What is most important to you? What are you voicing all the time? Is it placed on what the power of love would show us, or are you focused on what's not working? Is that where you are concentrating your attention, on what isn't working? The power of self-mastery. I love how our culture is shifting, and all of a sudden we are allowed in our world now to speak our feelings, which for a long time nobody could say what they actually felt. And people now have more freedom to say, this is what I feel, to speak with their voice, again, right, that's power, to speak what it is that they're feeling. But we also sometimes equate what we're feeling with the truth, rather than understanding that what we're feeling could very well be arising from some of our wounds. Not always. Sometimes what we're feeling is complete, and we've done our work, and we're not being reactive, we are being responsive. But how often do we get caught up in our reactivity? And in our reactivity, we have to tell somebody the truth about who they are. Usually it's what they're not doing, or what they are doing that they shouldn't be doing. And how you know you're in reactivity mode is if you feel as if something or someone is against you. The minute you feel like someone or something is against you, you are not in responsive mode. You are in reaction, which is fine. We all get Anybody in here not get reactive? We just want to bring consciousness to how we live and breathe into our life so that we can anchor ourselves more fully in something else. And what that something else is love. We can't have our power disconnected from our understanding of harmony. Now, this came up when we were working on our vision, mission, and core values. Came up around the idea of authenticity. There were people in the community who were legitimately concerned that if authenticity was one of our values, that it would give free rein to those people who feel that they need to authentically tell everybody what a jerk they're being. Where authenticity isn't about being part of a loving community. And we had a lot of discussion around that. And as I was sitting with love and power, I realized that when you combine love and power, what you get is authenticity. That is what it means to be authentic. To share our voices and gifts and talents, that's power, sharing my voice. But we're doing it with vulnerability and humility. We are valuing honesty, love, and we're taking responsibility for our choices. We are understanding that just because we're feeling something doesn't mean that it's real. It means that we are feeling it, and that there's work there for us and work in the world. Don't get me wrong, this is not about shutting down our capacity to call out things that are wrong and not aligned with love in this world. Is everyone hearing me? I'm really being clear. This is not about saying, your experience as being trivialized as a queer woman, that's just your feelings, it's not real. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that before I engage in a conversation with someone around those feelings of being trivialized as a queer woman in the world, I have to do my work. I have to do my work so that I'm not coming from a place of reaction and woundedness, but I am coming from a place of clarity and understanding about love. About love. We nurture trust by aligning our actions with our values. Power is how we activate, and our value is love. So what we are activating, we're saying yes to, is activating harmony, activating unity, activating that place within us that doesn't get caught up in the personal narrative. And that personal narrative is powerful, yes? Really powerful. Like I said, people are irritating. And they're beautiful. And they're unique. And they're inspiring. And they're there to highlight for us something that we're being invited to step into in a whole new way. So power on its own absolutely corrupts. It becomes all about using power to get something. And usually that's at the expense of someone else. What I'm talking about is taking our power, our ability to create, to speak truth. And that truth is the truth of love. That's what we're speaking. That's what we're living. So this is where the fifth principle practice comes in, where we actually need to live the truth we know. And we do that, look around at each other. We do that with each other. Because am I going to screw that up? Yeah, I am. I'm going to screw it up. I'm going to be reactive at some point. I'm going to say something. I'm going to do something. Can you hold me when that happens? Can you make a space for me? To let my humanness be? Can you make a space for each other so that we have enough room to allow ourselves to truly be? One of our other values is inclusivity. We can't be inclusive if we're not grounded in love and in our power. We have to speak up and say, we need to make space here. I know it's uncomfortable, but we need to make space here. And then we need to invite people in, again, using our voice, using our capacity to attract and to harmonize. But it's not going to happen like just because we wish it. We have to become it. So we started this series with how are you limiting your vision? How are you playing small in the world? And then we've moved into how are you limiting your capacity to access and manifest this vision? Are you allowing yourself to be truly open? Your heart's desire is never about material things. Your heart's desire is for the qualities of God. It's for love and connection and community, and that's what our heart's desire always is. So can we make enough space to listen to the heart's desire and then use our power to create it, to make it manifest in our world, not put it off to tomorrow? How many people in here have something that they wish was happening in their life right now, and they keep thinking, someday, someday? Someday is right now. It's right now. It may not look anything like you thought it was going to look. Isn't that fun? Surprises are fun. They can be, if you want them to be. What are you creating for yourself? A place where surprise and the unusual and the sudden actually, my wife and I are so excited about this move. And we have moments where we look at each other and we're like, we're doing this. And we're like, yep, we're doing this. We're doing it. We have no idea what's on the other side of this. We've been living in Oakland for 15 years. We've been living in our house for 10. We have no idea what it's going to be like to rent again. Like, what is that going to be? It's a grand adventure is what it's going to be. Regardless, it's going to be a grand adventure. We're going to discover something about ourselves, about what we want in the world. We're going to be able to hear, is this in alignment with our deepest heart's desire? Does it align? And if it doesn't, guess what? We get to pivot. We get to pivot. Awesome. Yeah? All right, so Michael Beckwith, this is going to be here for the entire time we're doing these 12 powers, because this should be something that you just sear into your consciousness. You can't have anything in life that you are not willing to become in consciousness. If you want connection and community, you have to be it. You have to be that big of a space of love for connection and for community. You can't just expect something to show up in your life if you're not actually being it. This is where that attraction piece comes in. If I am vibrating at this open space of welcome, then guess who is going to be responsive to that? Other people who are vibrating at that open space of welcome. Now, that community may not look anything like we thought it was going to look like, but does that make it any less rich, any less meaningful? I always laugh, Chris and I always laugh, if somebody had tried to set her and I up on a blind date back before we met, and they had listed for her who I was, and they had listed for me who she was, we never would have gone out. We never would have gone out. She would have been like, an actor? I don't get an actor. They're flighty. They're whatever her opinion was, right? They're too creative for me. She whistles. I was like, no, I don't want to live with somebody who whistles. That would drive me nuts. She actually whistles perfectly on key, and she whistles like classical music. Who would have known? Surprises, right? Like, who would have known that? So we always want to keep staying open because we never know what's on the other side. We have to be it. We have to be that space. We have to use our power. We have to use our love. We have to anchor that, because does the world need that right now? And what we do in microcosm here is everywhere present in the entire world. Everywhere present. So I'm going to invite Jeremy to come on up. We're going to do a meditation, an invitation to be love, an invitation to be power. So let's take a breath together. And if you wish to, the heart center. So love is anchored in the heart, and power is anchored in the voice. That's where those centers live in our body temple. So just allowing yourself to be aware of your voice, your capacity to speak truth, of your heart, your capacity to hear, to feel into the deepest desires. And as there might be material things that arise, it's okay. We can welcome them, but then lovingly sort of release them and see what's underneath them. What is it that you are truly seeking? Not how you think it will express in time and in space, but at the root of the root, at the heart of your heart. What is it that you desire? So we quiet the mind even more and just listen to the heart. Maybe it's a word, or maybe it's just a feeling. This is part of that divine idea of your life. So the invitation is to just welcome it. So let's just rest here for a few minutes and listen and welcome and be with what is it that our heart is seeking, the truest desire right now. And as we activate the power of love to listen to our heart's desires, we're now going to activate our capacity to give power to it through our voice. So whatever it is that we are saying yes to, that is this love, that is our capacity to create. That could be part of our heart's desire to create with joy. Just allow yourself right now to whisper to yourself, but actually whisper it so that you're using your voice. What is that heart's desire? What is it that you want? Whisper it right now. And if you want to say it a little louder, try saying it a little louder right now. And if you want to say it even louder, say it even louder right now. Voice the heart's desire. Now turn to the person next to you, and if you wish to, you don't have to, share your heart's desire with them right now. Put it out in the world. What is the heart's desire? And if you're watching on live stream, you can tell me I'm catching it on the vibrational level. So we breathe into the infinite potential and infinite possibility, and we know that we are anchored in love. We are anchored in our power to create. And let us say this affirmation together. Get my clicker. I claim the greatest power, the power of love. Can we know this together? Okay, everybody stand up and do it one more time. Doesn't have to be louder, just we're thinking about our voice, right? We are empowering this as we say it. And what do we say? I claim the greatest power, the power of love. And so it is.